Do, 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 do. Hello, everybody. My name is RODGON. I am an artist. I'm an illustrator. I'm a cartoonist. I am a artist that works on places like Marvel and stuff like that. And today, I am your new favorite art instructor. How are you guys doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. We started a little late. It's okay. I slept in. I cleaned. I did productive stuff. But now it's time to learn. Okay? So, I'm dying it. So, if you have never met me before, my name is RODGON. I'm an artist, and I like to go on here and teach you guys cool stuff about how to draw. I like to teach you guys the very basic concepts like anatomy, perspective, and hard things to draw like hands and feet and eyes and noses and positioning and all that sort of stuff. All the stuff that we really, really want to learn about our characters and how to draw, and so we can do comics and cartoons and stuff like that. This is what I teach. This is what I like to do. I like to teach character design. Okay? I like to teach and show you guys how you can accomplish and get to the design elements you guys want to get to. Be it Disney type of stuff or more compositional stuff or storyboarding, or even if it's just something that you want to do with the original characters. All this knowledge applies to all that stuff. So, as you guys join our live, make sure to hit that little like button so that we can get our lesson started. All I need is one of you. Ooh, there you go. I was going to ask. Somebody needs to ask me a question. And we have our question. Dinosaurs. How do we draw dinosaurs? Well, dinosaurs are actually kind of cool. And I'm going to be able to draw them in the Book of Bernie instead of my normal sketchbook, because that goes perfectly in line with learning how to draw dragons. So, this is going to call for another sketchbook, a different one. All right. Book of Bernie, you have been summoned. Let's put away the other sketchbook for now. All right. The Book of Bernie. If you have never seen the Book of Bernie, it's my study book gearing towards the art of my own little special story that I'm drawing. This one is gearing towards learning how to draw like really cute characters in a fantasy setting. But I decided at the beginning that my character is going to be a little bunny that fights dragons in really cool epic ways. So I needed to learn how to draw dragons. What did I do? I went to the Natural History Museum. And in the Natural History Museum, they have really cool things in the form of dinosaur bones. So they have skeletal systems and stuff like that, and then you can go and just check them out. You could literally go there for a day and learn how to do that stuff more. It's a very, very easy way to learn how to do things. You actually go and study. It's a very interesting thing. You study a little bit, and then you get better. Now, a lot of the times, we don't really do that because it's time consuming. But here, I'm going to have you guys hit the little like button until we get to 5,000 likes. When we get to 5K likes, we begin our lesson. Okay? So, as you learn a little bit more about the body, bones, like the one thing that I like to tell people is that you have to study the bone structure. Studying the muscles and studying style comes from understanding where these little bumps happen. Okay? If you're like literally drawing and you don't know what these little bumps are, you have to look either at the muscle or the skeletal system. Normally, the things that pump out are going to be bones. Most of the time, things that pop out are bones. The muscles do protrude, but the muscles are mostly made with overlapping shapes. The protruding parts tend to be parts with bone structure. Okay? The parts that protrude This is all bone structure. So I learned that just from going and looking at a skull a couple times. When I was looking at the gaps that happen in between, it started making sense why they have these little gaps and they have very, very indented eyes. So here, let's grab a Post-it so we can draw while we talk about this stuff. Where are all my Post-its? Mustache, did you eat my Post-its again? I think Mustache ate my Post-its again. Moosey, are you the culprit? The culprit in the missing. Let's just grab a piece of paper. There you go. There you go. This will work. So, checking out a dinosaur skull, right? I realized one really big component. The jaw was not connected at all to the actual top of the head or to the actual spine. No. This was all disjointed. So I could just focus on learning this part. So that looks like a rectangle to me. This shape just looks like a rectangle with a big hole in the middle. That means that this has two parts, right? This eye socket is open, like a little wrench or something on the sides. That is what's happening right here. So this big eye part, and then let's not consider like the teeth. Let's just simplify that like that, okay? That's the mouth. That is literally going to be it. A box, round the front, and then go zigzags, and then you can have like really simple dragon mouth. So let's not worry too much about the detail right now, okay? We can add the detail in a second. When we are looking at the basic shape, you have this big solid piece, and then this is kind of like a hole. This would be like an empty void. If this didn't have eyeballs or anything, this would be just empty. And this emptiness would continue down the side. This ends up being your cheekbone. So you can add little horns and stuff like that to this. This is where you add like little frills, whatever, hairs. This is your eyebrow muscle. But that also becomes where they have horns. If you have anything like a dragon, the horns would come out of here, regardless of what type of styling. If you had really big horns, it would just increase the size of this. Okay? If you have horns going forward, guess what? They come from there. It's just a very, I just noticed that. And I was like, that's interesting. The eye is going to fall inside of here. So anything you draw inside of this little hole, like you can draw a little tiny eye and make it all epic. And then just go ziggy zag, horn, back, and then the neck just extends from that box. So there's no weird, complicated thing. You just go, And then the neck is going to be half spine, and then the rest of it is going to be dictated by the jaw structure. So you're going to have this sort of structure. Okay? You're going to have your spine at the top, and then that spine is going to have whatever little spikies that you want to put on them, whatever. Okay? You can always draw the spikies on the side of this, right? So now it's like a little cylinder that's going down the back, and then you have the middle that has spikies, and then each one of these little 3/4 could have spikies too. And you can do that to practice this sort of stuff, to draw like dinosaur scales and stuff. Just practice drawing cylinders and then drawing textures. Like, you don't have to draw anything in peculiar. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, it has to be perfect. No, just draw little textures. Like, if you do little tiles, you get different scales. How do I deny this live stuff? You stop annoying me. When you add different elements like overlapping shapes, you could add depth. But doing textures and stuff like that is going to come from observation and from studying how other people have done it. So if you want to create really cool, dynamic, depth-defying little scales and stuff like that, you need to see how people overlap scales, right? You need to see how scales work. If you want just a random little texture pattern that can help you understand, let's say, how to draw the bottom part of the jaw and stuff like that. Ziggy zags, ziggy zags. Right? The bottom part. Oh, we haven't even talked about that part. But yeah, like that's the next part, right? So now we know that it's a box, and a box, that's my spine, and this is gonna be my head. It looks super simple, but when you start putting the details in, learning how to draw this properly can guide you into drawing something really, really cool. And that's just the top part. You know how easy it is to draw the bottom part? The edge of whatever cheekbone right here, right there, draw a little circle. Depending on how big you want your mouth open. And you have both sides. Ziggy zags on one side, ziggy zags on the other. Close it off with a little triangle for the meshy part of their mouth. And now you have yourself. Follow the neck, obviously. You need girth to the neck. And then you have yourself a dragon. Yay! Now let's draw a couple of them. Let's just draw dragons for a while. And just enjoy, because this is going to be really, really fun for you. Oh, well, we're going to talk down. We're going to work our way down. Like, you need to, the head is the coolest part. Let's be honest. The head, the coolest part. I'll talk to you guys about the body. We have body structures right here as references anyways. So, ta-da! I'm going to teach you guys how to draw them in the form of, like, cat-like type of, like, dragons. Or other variations of dragons that would just use different types of anatomy, right? Learning things like wings and learning things like how the feet work and how they correlate to how other animals work are very important. Like learning just simply how legs like these relate to a human leg and how that correlation happens is insanely useful. But most people don't even take the time. Oh no, the Book of Bernie's falling apart because it's a shitty quality sketchbook. It's one that some people sent me, and they wanted a review, but I don't think they want a review. I don't think they want a review of it, let's be honest. Because that would not be a good review for them. So paying attention to the anatomy that we were drawing, right? So what are we looking at here? When we're looking at stuff like this, we're looking at the general shape of the head. In this case, it kind of looks like a half circle. We can also use a half circle. It doesn't have to be a box, okay? It can be any shape you want, really, as long as you have the crevice inside and that crevice opens up all the way to the edge. That is going to be enough to draw the upper head of any sort of fantasy creature that has some sort of jaw structure like a dragon, an alligator, whatever. From here, from the edge of this or wherever you want, you can open the mouth all you want. Honestly, like this is just going to be the edge of the mouth. Let's say you want a super long one. From here, all you have to do to open his mouth is technically touch from this side to the other side of where the other one is. But a simple trick is just to draw a circle so you can envision the roundness of it. Draw a circle from here based on how open you want the mouth, and you're going to have both sides of the mouth. The necks for these guys follow the back. It's just a back line. It follows their spine in the back. The neck is not going to taper like a human's. Okay, it's going to be dependent on the width of how much you open your mouth. And then the connection to the rib cage is really wide. really, really wide. And they have really high collarbones. So a human has a collarbone that's low. These guys have a collarbone that goes really high. So from the middle of your neck up until where your arms are going to be, it kind of goes up. Whee! Okay? As opposed to a human that doesn't get that. A human has a more of like a little triangle base. Okay? This is the collarbone right here. Boop, boop, boop. These guys have it going up. So it goes beyond their rib cage, and then they have 1, 2 sections, and then their palm and their toes. Yeah, no, so this is their palm. This is the palm. 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections, and then toes. So 3 sections and toes. So we have normal bend, like if somebody was going like, oh, I'm strong. So if their arms are going inwards, it's like this. And then their toes. Yeah. They don't normally taper like a human. All right. That's another mistake people do. Right. Legs for most animals don't really taper like a human, so you have to stop thinking about them like that. They're very similar in nature because the anatomy points to the same places. But it's not a human. So you still have different things. Now, as we move back in the anatomy of the animal, we're going to have our rib cage, and back here would be where our wings would be. So if we have our circle for our rib cage would be the circle right here. This collarbone area going up, and then comes back down to the circle. So now I have my collarbone area. Okay. Now we go onto our rib cage. I have the ability to draw the rib cage any size I want, but it can come from this little circle. Just draw an egg connected to that circle. And whatever spine you drew is going to be the circle that goes around it to give you the front and the back. When you draw a circle inside of an object, it gives you the front and the back of your shape. So if you use these guys that don't really have, it's just going to be a box into a circle. But if you're able to visualize these things, it's going to be easier for you to be able to make the structures of them. Okay? And when you learn the little tricks, like the one I taught you for the heads, you're able to draw these a lot cooler, a lot more efficient. In any position you want too. So now we have the rib cage. Back here we would have the little scapula thingies. This is really easy to learn too, by the way. The scapula, the back part of the body, like of our bodies, is essentially, you got to think about it like this. In the front view, let's draw a quick little body. In the back view, it's going to be the same thing, right? It doesn't really change. Like, this is the back view because you have a line representing your spine going down your body. In the front, you get your collarbone that's in the front. It also is seen from the back, but you only see it because it sticks out a little bit. If your head was coming out of this little cylinder or the little circle, that's all you really need to know how to draw that. From the back, you draw that same cylinder connected to that, but instead of having a chin, let's zoom in, beep, 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 you overlap your muscle lines going inside, and you put the back of the cap of the skull. Your ear, the same shape, only from the back, you draw a line inside because you have to represent the volume going outside. And then from the front, you draw that same shape, but you draw the detail inside to represent the other side of the ear. okay? And actually from the front, you'd probably see a little bit less than that. Okay, you would only see that little ridge right here. That is that. That gets fatter as the ear rotates. Okay, so this is from the front. This is the little ridge that happens around your ear. And that little tiny earlet can be what you draw right there. Then it goes around. So you draw around. All right, so, well, you got distracted there. Then the front has the middle of the rib cage, and you're going to want to draw 2 little lines going to the outside of your hips. This ends up looking like a dude, like a Spider-Man guy, holding back a train. You know, from the movie? If you draw 2 circles underneath Spider-Man, that's your hip bones. And now you can draw your legs in any position you want. You're welcome. Now you're going to have access to drawing. Body is really easy. Okay, so now that we have this, right? And we do this. No, you don't have to do it from the back, really. But it actually works as well. Okay, so same thing. It just connects your hip bones where your hip bones are supposed to go. Your legs, well, you already drew your hip bone holes, so anything coming out of here is going to look like a leg. We ran out of space, so I'm going to have to do a little creative bending to make it look like he's standing properly. So any 2 shapes that I draw coming out of there are going to look like legs bent. If I want to make it go forward in space, like I want to go that way, like away from me, I could make these smaller, and I can make that go away from me. If I wanted to get closer to me, I would make the elements bigger and still connect them to the same place. And I can move that element in space any way I want. I already know the connecting point. So that's the only important part that I really need to know. Once I know this, I can move my leg in any direction and know that it's going to go back to that hole. And it's going to be perfectly fine. Okay, so now you have access to drawing any pose you want as long as you learn a couple overlapping shapes. Now, the back, the scapula, as you were talking, is going to be that little bone that happens right here, right? It's the same as your pectoral muscle. Only the pectoral muscle doesn't have a bone in the middle, splitting it. And this one's a little pointier, but it's the same thing. That's literally it. Like, that's the hardest part that people have. I don't know why they find it so hard. You even get the collarbone going inside like you do in the back. Like, people have a lot of hard time drawing that area, but the front and the back aren't very different. The only difference is that you have a big bone that's splitting everything in half. And that spine normally creates a little crease between the objects. That's it. Then you have your butt right here, connect it. The side of your muscles, just go back like that. You don't need to do all the detail here. But remember that little triangle? You already have the little crevice for your butt. So a lot of the things just come instinctively when you think about them in a mapping out scenario. Like when you think about them like this, you don't have to think too much about where things are supposed to go. You already have your abs, you already have your hips, you already know your hip holes. So all you got to do is think, where do I want to place this? How do I want to place this? How do I want to stylize it? The arms come from here, the collarbone. So this one ended up being kind of cool. Wait, I want to color this. I want to give that color. Hold on, give me a second. Yes, that looks Sorry, I have like the attention span of a frog. That's why I need an assistant. I need an assistant to like just be like, Rod, snap me back into like the line. You're like, come on, man. That was a lesson. Come on. Nah. Dragons are fun. That little tongue in there. Yo, Wes, what's up, dude? Let's draw a dragon rider. He's gonna be on top of him. Woohoo! Yay! And he's gonna have like his enemy right here, like burnt. Hey, Rod, sorry if I'm spamming, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on Strathmore sketchbooks. They're good. They're good. Any sketchbook is good. Any sketchbook is good, except for the ones that fall apart on you. Any sketchbook is fine. Like, they all have different uses. You know, like, you can, like, oh, God, like, there's, here, hold on. Oh, my God, hold on. Let me see if I can find a couple variations of them in this last year. And then I'll show you guys a couple of different sketchbooks that I held. Is this one October? Let's see, hold on. This one's, I think, one of the last ones that we just did. I still need to scan this one. So, let's see. What was the theme of this one? This one was, we were still working on anatomy, but we were working more on, like, discovering the actual proportions for stylization. So we were thinking about more of a style thing. So if you go ahead and just set a whole sketchbook with a theme, with a specific theme, by the end of that sketchbook, you will be better at that. You will be insanely better at that. So it doesn't matter what you end up wanting to choose, right? It's going to end up being better if you focus solely on that one thing. I have the brain that's scattered all over the damn place, so I don't know how to keep a single topic as much as I can. But you don't have to be like me, right? You can do specific themes for specific books, and you will have a fantastic amount of knowledge afterwards. I just know the way that I absorb knowledge, and the way that I absorb knowledge is through just spewing things out until something goes, yes, that. And then I focus on that for like a week, and then I just get really good at that one thing, and then I just implement that into everything else. So that one little spurge of knowledge that I spent in a week just improved everything I do. Not just that one thing. That one thing is the specific focus, but the actual objective is to have something that I understand, that I know a little bit more, than I can apply to everything else. That's what you should aim for. Let me see if I can find my pinup book. Is that one my pinup book? No, that one's not it. What were we talking about in this one? This one's already scanned. This one's scanned already. This one was just lessons. This one was just asking people what they wanted. And then I was going into the whole concept of character architecturing. So I don't consider myself a character designer. No. I consider myself a character architect. I like to think of characters in a very specific way. I like to dissect them to a point where I can mathematically not just break them down visually, but I can do it in any way, shape, or form I want. So if I am able to break something down to degrees and little tiny baby elements of things, or shapes that make sense to me, right? If I can do that, I can then take that concept and start applying creativity to it. Once you start applying creativity to it, you can create characters, storylines, superpowers, comic books, storyboards, and character design sheets really, really, really easy. So in this one, it was mostly about just that, I believe. And drawing a lot of pinups. I love pinups. I absolutely love pinups. Like, for me, like, being able to draw cute girls doing anything I want is super cool. It's like super cool. It was a skill that took so long to learn, so long to perfect, like years and years, but it's paid off. And now I can draw a girl in like little pinups like this in like seconds. And it's really, really awesome. It's incredibly dope because then I can just give that to someone, right? I can just like, what I should do, Wes. Okay, Wes, idea here. You remember that like site that we talking about, right? Yeah. Well, that site, that Sketches site, is going to maybe that's a really good outlook for that. Like you put sketches up that you just want to have someone finish, and then they just go ahead and then they can take ownership of it, but they just buy it from you. Like, so you can upload a sketch that you really, really like, but you don't feel like finishing. And then somebody else can buy the ownership of it and then finish it. And then you can make residual money from your art that you're never going to use. And then you can do that. And I think that would be a fantastic way for people to be able to get on there and actually like make some money like that. So maybe you can talk about that like that. Yeah, like what I like to do is I like to break things down like mathematically. Like when I don't do things that I like, I start changing it. Right? I start telling myself notes. But I do this all the time. And this is minuscule changes, that allow me to be able to see the character from every single angle and eventually narrow down to the styles that I like. That is what I do with all my characters. All of them. Every single one of them. And eventually I get to the point where I can draw them doing anything I want. Right? So it's a really fun concept that you should adapt. Instead of character designing, try to like break them down, understand them so that you can actually design them better down the line. Yeah? All right, let's bring back the others. Oh, we were talking about dragons, but then we started driving this. So I don't think we need the Book of Burning now. All right. Go away, Book of Burning. Bring back the Book of Lessons. Any techniques for shadows and lighting of the face? Do you want some techniques on how to draw the shadows better for quick sketches? Because that's what... Do you want some techniques on how to draw the shadows better for quick sketches? Because that's what I always wanted to learn. I could care less if I was drawing a portrait. But if I could draw a character, right? Let's draw a really quick one. Let's draw some random shapes. Make a face out of it. Let's say we have a random little structure. And we want to give this guy a really cool look with slight shadows and contrast, but we don't know how to make it really stand out really easy. So, first and firstmost, your line work should be the thing that gives your character depth. You should not rely on shadows to create depth for your characters. Okay? I'll talk about the arms in a bit. I think dragon-wise, the arms just come out from here. So that's the edge of your arms. Right? And then you bring it back in for volume. So this is the edge. This is where you draw the outside of your arm. And then you bring it back in underneath that for volume. like you would from the front. That's easy. It's easy peasy, dude. Like once you have the collarbone, everything is just outside, inside. So, oh, sorry if I didn't go through the lesson to that point. All right, so now that we have a character, we drew a really cute one. We're like, oh my God, I want to draw and I want to give this to someone. You can do this with just your line work. Thicken the lines on the bottom side of any drawing, and you're going to give yourself depth. If you have something like a circle and you have a light source, to be able to create a little bit of depth, all you have to do is make the lines a little darker away from your light source. If you do that, you're going to get yourself what I like to call thick to thin. Just thick to thin line work. You're going to learn to understand it a little bit more. Anything that would cast a shadow, in this case, this is hair, right? Hair is not a big shape. This is going to cause little shadows on the bottom part of this. So you would darken the bottom line of the eyebrow line. Same thing happens with your hair over here. You darken the lines underneath the hair. Anything that would be away from the light source gets a little darker. Okay? Anything away from the light source. So now that everything away from the light source got a little darker, this starts having a little bit more depth. But it's still not quite enough, right? It doesn't quite look quite yet. The next step is to add a little bit of drop shadows. Drop shadows are the shadows that happen when light hits and it hits another surface. That is what I call a cast shadow. Yeah, cast shadow, sorry. Not drop shadow, cast shadow. The cast shadows are normally really sharp. Cast shadows, anything that casting a shadow on the ground, for example, would follow the direction of the light and then hit the edges, and the extra would be your shadow. Okay? If the light source is different, let's say like a flashlight, instead of the sun is goes in the same direction. But light sources like a flashlight are not necessarily straight. Let's make a better flashlight. And they have a conical area. So what happens is that the shadows expand. So the shadow will follow the path of whatever the light source is hitting. So if something is up here and it's lighting this, the chin being something with volume, right? This is something that has volume. This is something with depth. It's not just a line. This is going to cast a shadow on the other element that has volume, which is your neck. So the light source makes this big shape cast a shadow underneath depending on where the light source is hitting. Same thing happens with things like the top of your nose and stuff. Your nose is divided into 3 parts: flat side and 2 walls. Okay? If you have your light source hitting, you would have, from 3/4, by the way, you only see 2 sides instead of seeing 3 sides. So you only see the 2 sides. So when the light source is hitting from the top, you only light up the top part. The bottom of the nose gets a little bit of a shadow. The wall of the nose goes up to where your eyebrows hit. The inside of that keeps on being the wall of the nose. This ridge goes inside the body, goes boop, back in. So anything that you have here would cast a shadow below the eyebrow down to where the eye is. The cheekbone comes around the outside of the eye. Wherever you have your eye, This is how you find all this stuff out, Bella. If you draw a little line, if this is the inside of your nose, this is the inside wall. If you split this like a Pokeball, you're going to have the ability to draw one curvy line, and then follow this around for your eyebrows, and you follow this around for your cheekbones. This is a very easy way to remember that body section. This is the flat side of the nose, and then you draw the wall. Whatever ball design, and you can draw your structures a little bit easier like that. So, draw a Pokeball. Follow this down for the inside of, for the little flat side of your nose. Then the wall of your nose comes inside. And it's a very simple way to learn that section of the face. It gives you the two sides that are either shadow. If the light source is on top, this would be in a shadow. If the light source is underneath, this would be in a shadow. If the light source was here, this would be shadows. A pinup? A pinup is cute drawing of a girl doing something cute. That's my opinion of what a pinup is. I draw a lot of the women that I've dated, and I draw them all like, it's like they add to the ultimate pinup. So every girl that I've dated has added one element to the ultimate pinup that I will ever draw. To my character, the character that I call Vicky, it's based heavily on a bunch of traits, mostly from one, but it's from a bunch of traits from a bunch of the girls that I've dated. Because they all leave a little impression, you know? They all leave a little impression on you. They all leave a little bit of them inside, you know? And it's kind of cool. And just because a person leaves my life, that doesn't mean that they stop being a source of inspiration to me. It's the kind of picture a dude would pin up. Yeah, you know. Let's draw one with like riding a dragon or something. Let's see. Should have like some stirrups, but you wouldn't see the other foot, so you only see this foot. Let's make this into stirrups. Okay, and then let's give her a really badass dragon. Like I said, a dragon is just a box. You can split the box in half, and you already have yourself the structure for a dragon. Remember the opening around the eye. It goes around the eye, eyebrows, cheekbones. The nose canal is going to be towards the front, and you have a little bit of a little ridge of a bone that happens around right there. You can choose a curvature, whatever type of design you want for the front, and any sort of spikies that go up will be up to you. The necks are relatively long. Their jaw structure extends a little bit beyond their head. And if you want to draw their mouths open, from the edge of the cheekbone, you draw a circle. Then you can draw that as open as you want. Connect this with a little bit of a line to draw the little webby part that they get. And you have yourself the structure that you need for a mega dragon. Draw the details any way you want. You already have all the structure you need. At this point now would be just a matter of your understanding of contrast, your understanding of detail, your understanding of perspective is going to make the difference, right? It's not going to be anything else other than that. Like, what are your preferences? What market you could choose to show your artwork to? All that is going to be representing how much likes you get and how many engagement you have and all that stuff. It's very rarely going to be the lack of being able to create something awesome. Most of you can create amazing things already. Okay? You don't have to get validation from people. But if you want that validation, if that's what you want, if that's what you cater for, then do things that are going to cater attention from people. You know, do some fan art a little bit at first. Mix that in with a little bit of your real work that you are proud of yourself, and eventually weed out the artwork that is based on other people's stuff. Don't allow the praise that comes with the fan art. Because fan art, you're borrowing someone else's creativity right now to be able to create attention for yourself. And that's fine. Everyone does it. Okay? But realize that that's the concept that's happening. When you start being proud of what you do, and you start feeling proud of the elements that you create on your own abilities, on your own knowledge, not referencing, not doing it from copying somebody else's pose or something. And you are going to be the only catalyst in this. No one's going to call you out on that shit. Like, I've been doing this for 20 years. You know how hard it is to tell someone, hey, man, I see you copied my pose. Can you, not? You can't do that. It's not possible. You're not going to call someone out on that. I mean, sometimes it's blatantly obvious with some pros, whenever they, replicate somebody else's really iconic poses. But at the end of the day, it's just a reference, I guess. So, but it's about you understanding that you created something based on what you know. You are going to be the only person that is going to be able to be like, fuck yeah, I did that shit. And that's something that can't be taken away from you. I don't need validation from someone else to be like, I just drew a dragon in under 5 minutes that looks better than most of the shit that I used to grow up with. I'm happy because I'm able to do this based on my knowledge. I didn't have to go online and look at a thing opening their mouth or any sort of reference to be able to create this. Because I have gathered enough knowledge inside my brain to be able to do so. And it's a beautiful thing. An artist that is well-rounded is an artist that has a fulfilling life. A person that's happy creates more. A person that pushes to be better at their craft will be happier with what they do. Because challenges are a natural part of human experience. If you stop challenging yourself, you stop growing. People die in retirement because they just get bored. Retired, if you're going to be retired, you need to plan to be busy every day. because otherwise you just end up in a stupor, and then you just end up just not having a purpose for life. So understanding all that will eventually get you there. Okay? And if you're not there yet, make it a goal. Make it a goal to have a life where you are enjoying every single day that you're waking up and doing things, instead of maybe struggling to be able to find happiness in just the very basic things, even if that's giving you a lot of money or like success. Like if it's making you miserable inside, it's not worth it. What did you ask? Vicky names her dragon Steed. RODGON, you're a great artist, and I've gotten so far in my art journey because of you. Yay! Question, how do I draw a dragon from the front view? Well, we've drawn dragons from the front view a lot, but yeah, I'll just draw one right now, real fast. So, dragons from the front view, what you have to remember how we drew a box, and a dragon from the side is a box. So, if you draw a dragon, let's consider that this is a dragon from the side, this was the split, we drew a mouth, we drew eyes in the top part. A really cool trick that I like to do is I just like to draw a little roundy part around the eye to map it out. So I can go into my cheekbone in a round way, and then around my eye, I have my eyebrow into my... So it goes around the eye section. Okay? The nostril can be anything, really. You don't have to keep it nice and round or anything like that. It can be anything. You can make it more like an alligator. You can make it protrude to the front. You can make it bigger at the bottom than the... If you make the top bigger than the bottom, it's going to look a little goofy. If you make it about even, but a little bit tiny less, it's going to look, by my opinion, the coolest. Or you can have an overbite by just making the bottom part a little bit bigger. But just remember, whatever distance you have here, remember that we talked about drawing a circle to open his mouth, right? So if from here, you're essentially drawing the circle flat. You're drawing the inside of your mouth. So when you're doing it like this, you're drawing it flat. From here, when you start opening it, just take whatever distance you chose for the mouth, and you're going to be able to open your mouth really, really, really big. Okay? And it's going to give you the roundness that gives you both sides. And then the jaw just goes back. Remember the inside, the little triangle helps connect everything and keep it nice and functional, regardless of whatever size you open the mouth. So yeah, it becomes a matter of just learning how to draw circles on a box. So from the front, we draw a box. The mouth goes from one side to the other. So that circle that you see here just becomes a circle like that. The box, it's going to have all my teeth. And then this is the inside of our teeth, into the front, into the side. The eyes are on the side. And they have the cheekbones around it, cheekbone around. That's why I draw the little circle. So I can draw that little circle around the front, a little circle around the top. The horn goes back, so the horn goes back from the eyebrow ridge. And then this just becomes the top, because all this is just one big line. Nostrils, tongue, and if my mouth is open really wide, you don't see the bottom part of the mouth. Like, this is something that really confuses me when people like have to like be explained this. But let's say you have a character like this, okay? A character like that. If you have a camera that's shooting camera footage, it's gonna see that, right? When you open your mouth, you're going to see from the front, you're going to see a certain amount of that bottom circle. When you open your mouth more, you don't see any part of your chin anymore because it blocks off from the camera. So as it's rotating back on the dragon, let's say the camera is right here, okay, whatever you're seeing, if the mouth is open even remotely past a 45-degree angle, you barely see any of the bottom part of the jaw anymore. So in this case, you wouldn't even see the neck. You would just go back into whatever body you have. And the neck would be probably like really long. And again, there's no real neck break, so that would just go back into the tall collarbone. And your eyes would fit within the little circles right there. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? These are really dark highlighters. I don't like dark highlighters. I got them because they were supposed to be pastel colors. How is that a pastel color? That is not a pastel color. I'm never buying those darn highlighters again. I don't like them being so dark. I have to do a giveaway with a bunch of stuff that I've bought that I just don't like. Like a bunch of stuff that I like people give me and I'm just like, like dark highlighters. The reason I use watercolors most of the time is because I get a really light tint to my art. Let's see. So we drew dragons. We talked about the face structure. What else? What else? We have about half a sketchbook page left because we decided to, well, I guess if we put this one in here, we don't have to do as much anymore. But I don't want to narrow that shit down. I'm just going to put this at the end page. We're almost done with the sketchbook too, by the way. We have on like 2 more pages. This one took about a month and a half. It's a little bigger than the other ones. So let's put this one right here. We already have our next one primed up. And we got to hit up Illo or Danique for some more. I had to go buy one. I haven't bought a sketchbook in like forever. I forgot to replenish my sponsorship stuff. I'm so dumb. Like I need to like really like be not dumb. Like I'm pretty smart. But when it comes down to like keeping track of like the things like the goodies and stuff like that people send me for free, like I always forget. I just always lose track of that. Like I am so just not in that mentality like of like looking to get shit out of people. It's just like okay, well, oh shit, I ran through 17 sketchbooks. I forgot to reorder. Damn it. Let's art war sometime. Oh, dude, you don't want this smoke, man. You don't want this smoke. So if somebody wants to know what art wars are, it's one of the funnest things that you guys can do with your friends. If you have friends, unlike me, if you're not a loner and like a big loser like me, if you have one single friend that draws, you can do these art wars. And let me explain to you what art wars are. Art wars are, oh my God. We used to do these in art school. So we used to do these in art school, and these are called art wars. These can be catered to different levels, but the way that I like to do it, because I draw really quick and it caters to my capabilities, is doing 5-minute art war battles. So what does that mean? You need 2 people. So let's make a little like graphic. The first thing you need is 2 people that can draw. If you are at very different skill levels, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're at different skill levels, by the way. You can be much better. I've been beat by my niece, and my niece was like 12. So it doesn't matter if you're a painter or a digital artist. As long as you can mark and draw something like in Pictionary, you're going to be perfectly fine. Okay? So first thing you need is a friend. A friend that's happy, not sad like this guy. So a friend, and you need paper. So you just need a piece of paper. So you guys can do it on their sketchbooks. You can do it anywhere. You can do it on, like, I'd like to do it on Post-its. Post-its are really, really fun because then you have like a progressive thing, right? So you have that, and then you agree on starting the battle. Like, yes, let's do this. Let's go. Now, the first person has to send an emissary. So let's name this guy number 1, this guy number 2. Number 1 is going to think of a character. So he's going to sit here and be like, how do I want to initiate this art war? I would just start easy, and I would draw a little character with a flag or something saying, I declare war. And make them all sassy if you want. Super simple. Don't make it too complicated, because he's going to meet an unfortunate end really, really soon in order to start the war. So you send your emissary. You can give them cool hats. You can give them everything you want. The detail that you choose is going to be kind of like how you defend yourself against the other person. If you draw a really simple character, the other person's going to have an easy life because they have to draw your character now getting killed. So you send your emissary, and then the emissary, your opponent goes. So now it's turn number 2, number 1, number 2. He can squash your character. Imagine that he like kills it, like, ah! And then he has to show that it's that character. If he can't demonstrate that it's that character dying, then he has not accomplished that part of the war, and he loses. Right? But you can show him just dying to something. Right? You have now declared art war. Now, whatever it is that this thing was, let's draw a little animal or something, just to make it look like I squished you with a creature, beak, eagle thing. Let's just give them like feathers and wings. Right? So now I have killed you with my Elephanta hippopotamus / griffinish shit. Right? Now this person has to go back, and they have to kill whatever you created with one of theirs. But they have 5 minutes. So the more detail you end up putting within those 5 minutes in that one element, right? They now have to show their creativity. They have to be able to kill it in a certain way that doesn't really take time, but it's not repetitive. So I have now squished them with my feet, just like, meh, right? Like, make them angry. Meh. Now I have to show somebody or something, a character, killing this guy. So if I have my Post-it, if I had to do it, I'd probably find like the easiest thing would be to draw like, I don't know, a profile of this guy with his wings, and then like a hole going through his head, right? And then drawing my other character, whatever I choose to draw, killing whatever this guy was. So, and it can be anything. It can be like machine guns, whatever. As long as it's legible, it passes the vibe. And you are all just literally being like subjective to your own thing. If there's a disagreement, it goes to a prolonged game. Okay? That's literally it. There's no ill will. There's no winning and getting fucking mad and shit. This is not one of those things. Okay? If you start getting mad, then you get the fuck away. Literally, like, you have no reason to be getting mad in something like this. It's not meant for that. This is just for fun, shits and giggles. So if you can prolong the game even more, you go and keep on doing. The more you get into it and the more you deal with people that can draw really good, you'll end up drawing cool characters out of nowhere, and your other characters will end up killing them all the time. Right? You'll end up coming up with really creative ways to be able to do things. And it's going to just make you a better, more entertaining person. Let's just say that you have like a dude right there, and he just sliced his head off. He's like a Super Saiyan. So whatever the character is, the person now has to go in and try to replicate him. So the more you make it hard for the person to do that, the easier it is going to be for you to win. And you only have 5 minutes. So it's a very limited amount of time that you have to be able to put your point across. So it's really, really, really fun to do that with friends, especially when it's a group of friends. If it's like more than 2 people, it just goes around in the circle until people get eliminated. This is even worse doodling. It's subjective to you, duty. I mean, I'm having fun. Your inability to enjoy other people enjoying themselves or just literally talking about is irrelevant to the conversation. You're just a hurtful person that doesn't really have any other reason to do things except go on here and comment on other people's shit. I feel a little sad for you. But it's okay. It's all right. People like him are the people that like discourage other people from pursuing whatever they want, you know? The thing is, most people don't understand that a lot. But your response to me? No, I'm going to show you how ignorant you are and how hurtful it is normally for people to like you to exist. People like you prevent other people from getting to where they need to. People like you are the ones that make people feel so bad about themselves sometimes that they stop pursuing their dreams. You're probably not a really nice person. And it's not my cause to like try to like troll on you. You're just a bad human being. That's all right. You can stay here and learn. You can be... I'm not a bad person. I'm not going to cut you off because of that. But no, I'm not a Democrat. The fact that you have to go to politics with that sort of stuff just shows how frail a human being you are. You have to rely on other things like rich people talking about things and mentioning things. Oh, let me see how I can mention Biden. You're annoying, dude. You're kind of sad human being. I just logged in. Oh, no. What happened? I'm not really angry. It's just kind of like people like that guy are the people you guys want to avoid. The people that do little tiny critical things and say you little tiny minuscule little bad things about your stuff. It's not enough to say like, they're talking shit. But it's enough for them to know that they're doing that to you. People like that have been in my life. I've been doing this for 20 years. Worldwide recognized artist. Multiple awards. Featured in all the magazines that you can possibly imagine for this art form. But no, he can do better. What a little funny shit, dude. Nah, you're just a shitty human. It's okay. And you're still here. See, people like that feed off this. They feed off of it. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, he can't do anything that I can possibly draw. Like, and it's not even a matter of me showing off. I give this knowledge away so that you guys can possibly get there, right? It would be awesome. It'd be awesome if you came back in like 10 years and were like, yeah, look at that. I did better. I'm like, cool. That was my goal. But he probably is not. But it feels good sometimes for people like that to put the people down. And that it leads to a really cool leadway. Like why you should never really take validation from other people. You literally said, follow your dreams, and boy got triggered. Yeah. Yeah, people like that are sad. They make really bad friends and family members. They make really bad people to be around. So, hey, keep on learning. Like, listen to him. Like, look at his responses and then pay attention to the people around you and see who acts like that. The people that act like that around you, remove them. So he's showing a perfect example of why you shouldn't be. Like, hey, I'm allowing this. Because you're giving a lesson that I can't give. Because I can't be an asshole. But you can. You can show us. You often find your proportions off. Do you have any advice? Okay. So proportions are really interesting. So proportions are going to be relative to what you want to do with your characters. Because if your characters... If proportions is a very relative term, right? Because if you're drawing like a little chibi character, your proportions are going to be very different than if you're trying to draw a superhero or something like that. You're trying to draw somebody that's meant to be in a certain way, you have to account for those variations. But even people like that can be drawn in very various ways that aren't necessarily proportionate. And a lot of the times we don't want proportions. Right? We don't want proportions to be strictly one way. We want to just get consistent. It's not about proportions. They're like, oh, well, my eye and my head and stuff like that never look the same. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're drawing things and they're not necessarily the same, that is going to be an inconsistency issue. It's not a proportions issue. Right? If you're consistently not drawing the shapes the same size because you just don't do it, whenever you're drawing things like eyes, for example, and you have to leave them with a little space because, eyes have little space between them. Being able to draw eyes and stuff like that in space, it's just a matter of being able to draw consistent shapes in space. Nothing is perfect. No. There's no perfect piece of art. There's never been a perfect piece of art. Like people that think about perfectionism, they're literally setting themselves up for failure. Because there's literally no way to achieve what you're trying to do. I'm struggling with eyeballs. Eyeballs. Easy peasy. You're going to learn eyeballs in like a minute. Eyeballs are 3 circles. One circle is the outside white part. One circle is the inside colory part. And then one more circle or dot is the black part inside. Now, add 2 lines in the form of a thick line that's curvy and a thin line that's curvy intersecting it. You leave a little bit of space on one side for your tear duct, and the other side you thicken it to whatever style you feel like drawing. The rest of the circle is going to be your eyelid. Eyelid on the bottom, eyelid on the top. At the top of the eyelid comes your eyebrow. Circle, eyelid. So now let's draw different eyes. If you draw a circle and you leave this curvy line more open, the eye is going to look like it's more open. Thick line, thin line going around the circle, thicken it to one side, tear duct on the other. The rest is my eyelid. My eyebrow goes on top of my eyelid. When your eye is open cartoony, you can shift the eyebrow up a little bit so it doesn't look too close. But I wouldn't do it too much, just because it throws off all the other stuff in your drawing. Thick line, thin line. Ooh, I want a different facial expression. Well, then the thin line can go somewhere else, and now you can have fear. Oh, no. Ah. So, hold on. We have to go in steps. Like, you guys got to be patient. What about eye perspective from a lower angle? If you don't learn in steps, you're going to miss out on how to do it. So, we got to do it in baby steps. Let me take a sip of water. Okay. So now that we know that the eye is 3 circles in 2 overlapping lines, a thick one and a thin one, with the thin one being inside, thick, thin. Imagine you're doing like this little infinity symbol or whatever, like that, okay? Thick, thin, circles. Okay, so now we have eyes. Now, how do we draw eyes in different perspectives? Well, the curvature, the peak of the curvature for the front view is going to be in the middle. If you do that in the middle, it's going to look like it's in the middle. If you make the peak at 3/4, it's going to look like a 3/4 eye. And if you make the peak at the side, your eye only goes about half of your eye, like eyeball. But as a profile, the peak is here, aka you go around your shape. Okay? Because the eye is a circle. So now this kind of looks like a little Pac-Man. If you draw a little Pac-Man in any direction, you have access to drawing your eyes. Okay, that's going to be one really cool thing to learn. Now, let's take this back, and now let's talk about how to put it on the actual face. So when you're drawing heads, you can draw your eye socket. I like drawing the eye socket or the nose first. If you draw 2 circles, that could be the eyebrow ridge, your cheekbone, and your nose canal, your nose bridge, which leads to your nose canal. Boop, boop, boop. This is my favorite way of breaking down the faces, because it allows me to just put that ball, 2 curvy lines inside of here, and it gives me all that knowledge. If I color this like a Pokeball, where one of them is in shadows and not, I have that. At the base of the nose and the cheekbone, if I draw a little circle on the side, I have depth. And then from here, it's cheekbone to my chin. This butterflies in for my cheeks. This becomes my nose area, my mouth area, and my ears fall right there too. That goes to my neck. And then we go the chin. When you're drawing faces, your eyes are going to sit within that little structure. How to draw different shapes. Squidward, huh? Does it look like Squidward? Yeah, kind of. If you draw Squidward, that's a very simple way to understand how your features connect. For sure. Oh, I already just blocked them. Yeah, that guy's a loser. People like that are people that you need to avoid. Like, I like to leave people like that sometimes in the chat because you need to recognize them. Right? People like that come covert in like your friends groups. They go covert into your workplace. That's your coworker. That's somebody that's looking at your stuff and waiting for you to fall and like do something wrong so that they can feel good about themselves. So be very mindful of things like that. Oh, I know I can kick them. And if my mods would probably are more than welcome to do that whenever they're here. But it's going to be a matter of like, I like to make sure that people understand that, because those are the people that keep you from progressing. Okay? They keep you down, they keep you in check, as they like to call it. I lived through a situation like that for a while. I was in a controlling situation with very, very subtle hints as to why I should not pursue the things that I should. So I don't really tolerate it, So you draw Pac-Man while doing the three-quarter eyes? Yeah, three-quarter eyes is going to be easier than that. When you're trying to draw three-quarter eyes, just think of a circle, like for the eye, right? And the peak of the curve should just be slightly off to the side. That's it. And then it's two lines. One thick one, one thin one. Let them overlap a little bit. Draw a little epaulet for your inside. It just wraps around. Curvy line, wraps around. That becomes your tear duct. That's going to be important later so you can add depth to your lower eyelid and stuff like that. Okay, that's for later. Okay, and then you thicken this part to replicate eyelashes or style. Your eyelashes technically go forward, but a lot of the times people don't know how to do that properly and they end up just drawing like shit. So at first when you're learning, don't worry about the eyelashes going forward very much. Just thicken the line so that it looks like it's indicating there's an eyelash, and you'll be much better off for it. Okay? The further you overlap this, the more details you can do. And in time, you'll learn how to use overlapping lines to create more depth, age, detail, and stuff like that. But it comes in time. It comes in stages. And you need to learn just the very basics of the curvature peaks to just move the eye in different directions. Right? Like, I don't have to draw the entirety of the eyeball to tell you that this is looking in a certain direction. When you start adding all the other details, well, yeah, of course it looks a little bit better, but you don't need that. People that load just ignore. Yeah, no, I know they do. I know they do, but they also don't like being told that they're shit. And since it doesn't affect me, I like to make them feel bad about themselves a little bit sometimes. Just got little consequences, leave him with a little bit of a reminder that he's not really doing shit to anyone. Can you explain how do I draw a face after a perspective? What? Like, you mean like face in perspective? Oh. Hold on. Let's talk about the jaw, because I think that's going to be the cause of the issue. Somebody mentioned the jaw as well, so let's talk about the jaw. Right. The jaw. The human jaw is not as hard as people like to make it sound. And it's not at all. Let me explain to you the human head in like the easiest way that I learned and then you guys will make your own like ideas of if it's good or not, okay? I'm going to teach you a cylinder method. Let's draw a circle, draw another circle, and we'll draw a full circle for the top. It's connected, connected, connected. Now, if we think about it like this kind of looks like a big ball, and this is going to be the connecting to our rib cage. So we draw a little compass. The front of our rib cage, the back of our rib cage. If this circle is already going around our shape, all I have to do is draw a line up on both sides, and I have an ear, a shape that goes around, and my neck. So let's not space it out so much. Circle, thinner circle, thin circle. Connect. Jaw structure. The neck is already connected. Taper this to my liking. Draw a little shadow, and you have yourself the shape for the head. That later on, by drawing a compass, leads you down the body. That was interesting. So, circle, spine, circle. Doing it like this will help you understand how to draw the head in different directions. So now, instead of drawing a little circle or a cylinder, we're going to draw just a figure 9 with a circle at the bottom. The circle that you draw at the base of this, you can rotate that around. If you rotate that around, you have access to drawing your head in different directions. This circle connects to the back of the head. So wherever that circle is going to guide where your head goes, even if it's extreme poses. I'd love to be able to save these somehow and view them later to remind. I have hundreds of them on YouTube. Hundreds of them on YouTube. So all you got to do, and the neck isn't that long, so it's even easier than that. So little neck, right? It's not going to be hard for you guys to do this once you unlock certain aspects of things. You're cool. Aww. Thank you, Natalie. You flatter me with your lies. The frontal jaw, well, it's not going to be any different. Check it out. No, you're going to laugh. You're going to be like, what the hell? Why has this been hard? For the front, draw a circle, draw a cylinder, connect it to a circle. This already goes around. You already have the flat side. You don't even need that flat side. You already have it. That's it. The front's even easier. And if you want to move the leg up, or you rotate the head up, this circle, well, you already have an ambiguous circle. This goes up or down. That rest is just the shading area. Bottom of the chin, bottom of the ear. That's the only connection you need to know, and bottom of the ear to the collarbone. So when you have your like views going up, bottom of the ear to that collarbone. And you have access to drawing your characters up, down, left, right, without any real struggle. From just drawing a cylinder. you're going to be able to draw characters in multiple different styles, doing a lot of different things now. So, you're welcome. Do 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 do. All right. Any other questions? What about realism? Not anime is a different face. Realism doesn't change. Like, okay, when you're talking about realism, most of the time it's about removing lines. So it's not about realism. If you're aiming for the end effect of being hyper realistic, then you're only going to be able to get that through references. You're only going to get that through references and almost straight up copying it. Now, if you're talking about realism in the way of drawing something so it looks more real, right? It's all about removing lines. So you have to create contrast, right? You have to remove line work from the situation. This is where people get confused because they're so used to drawing lines on everything that they don't understand how to create volume without it. So when you don't know how to create any sort of depth outside of being able to draw lines, well, that's why realism becomes really hard for people. Because there's no lines in reality. Everything that's making it look like a line is just contrasting colors, contrasting shades. So that is why it's harder to do that, I guess. But it's really not. Like, if you just grab charcoal and you learn how to blend, like, hard edges and soft edges, you'd be fine. I can only draw realistic. I don't know animatic. What? Animatic? I don't know what you're trying to say. Are you trying to say that you can't simplify? You can only draw realistic, so you're a photography machine. Or you only draw with tones. Is that what you mean? You only draw with tones. You don't draw with... Yeah, so you have your terminologies wrong. So you might want to like adjust your terminology to actually be what you like refer to as your art. Most of the time, that just comes from a little bit of not knowing a little bit more about the industry. Any questions? Any more questions? I mean, furry. Furries are easy. So if you're drawing a box, right, and you draw whatever shape of snoot you want, let's say you want like a little bear snoot. Draw a little box, draw a little bear snoot, and then give yourself your bear ears, the little tussles on the side. And then we just talked about the neck, so let's draw a big circle, connect the sides to the neck, ears to neck, same thing works. And then you can draw yourself as a furry being anything you want. I'm here to help you guys do whatever you guys want, as long as you guys don't hurt no one. Yeah, and then if you want different animals, you would just draw different snoots. So let's say that you want like a wolf or something. Just draw whatever base, the snoot length, connect it, and draw yourself whatever forms you want. Know what I mean? It's going to be a lot of referencing at first. but eventually you'll be able to do it on your own without having to reference absolutely anything. What's your favorite thing to draw? I like drawing pretty girls. I like drawing pretty girls and cute animals. That to me is the ultimate test to see if a person has visual cues that I consider to be predominant in people that understand volume and shape. Like if a person can draw the female figure in a nice, appealing way, and also be able to draw like a human structure in a normal way, that is going to be a big catalyst in my, like me deeming them like super really cool and knowledgeable, or someone that's just like, all right. Like if a person can take a simple shape and do anything they want with it, to me that demonstrates a bunch of mastery of like just in general of drawing. Learning the form of eyelashes is easy. Draw this shape, right? Darken the top line so you have an eye, and then you're gonna fan it out from there. By fanning it out, you're gonna make the lines a little bit bigger, and then you're gonna go. Oh, the bottom line, make it bigger. When you start learning about the direction of things, they don't have to be as long and they cluster a little bit more, but it's the same concept. Legs. Somebody asked about legs. So legs connect to the body with a circle. If you draw a circle and you draw two little circles on the side, you're going to have hip bones. If you draw hip bones, you can draw anything you want from hip bones, and it's going to look like a leg. You can start with something simple, like something like that. Draw a body going up from there. Anything you draw from there, it's going to look like a leg. Learning overlapping shapes is going to allow you to move them in space. Okay, learning how to move characters in space. It's about learning overlapping shapes a little bit. Just anything you connect to those sections, if you make it bigger and overlap them, it's going to come towards you. If you make them smaller and overlapping, they're going to go away from you. So understanding motion and movement shouldn't be difficult. That is the one thing that you're supposed to be doing as you're learning your initial steps, is learning how your body parts connect in simple ways so that you can draw them in any way you want. Right? Understanding them at a base level so that you can pose them in any way you want later. And all you really need to learn is the size of your rib cage and how to draw either a little circle, so you can do that, because that gives you your head, your space, and your hip bones. And I have a bunch of different ways to go about it, but the one that I'm doing for my advanced character design course is going to be this one. So the way that that's going to work, because I just saw that 21 Draw is releasing my course that I did for them like last July. They're releasing it at the end of the month. So it's an anatomy course. So I don't want to have my character design course clash with their release, because that's just a shitty thing to do to people. And it's not the same thing. It's going to be completely different courses, but people don't want to just buy like multiple courses from different people with the same artist. It's just not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is the people that have bought the character design course already, because they paid in advance, I'm just going to release it to them. I'm going to release it to them, and then we can just wait for the course to be like ready for promoting and marketing to external sources. But I think I'm just going to do that. I'm going to start releasing a video, like maybe 2 videos a week, extending the not even more than that, probably like 2 or 3 videos a week. If I can release about 3 videos a week within the span of, no, I'm gonna do more than that. It's gonna have to do like 5 videos a week, because then I can finish that in a month. Interesting. But yeah, but we're gonna have that coming towards the end of the month, or that, and then you guys will get the 21 draw one coming at the end of this month too. So it's going to be packed full of knowledge, and Rod is gonna be all over your feeds again, and that's interesting. It's really interesting. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the amount of times my face is put in things that I don't really know is supposed to be like there. I don't know. It's weird. But anyways, hey, that's kind of cool. How would you portray the emotion? Rage? Eyebrows? So if your eyebrows are very pronounced, like very angled in, what happens with your face is that everything scrunches towards the middle. Everything. So it creates this gap in like little dark area, little pocket that just generates a lot of lines and generates a lot of tension. When you combine that with, let's say, an open mouth with like a lot of negative space, you can get something like rage. You would use something like that for like the whole core. Something like that. All right, we have space for maybe like 1 or 2 more questions if you guys have any in particular. How to draw tired eyes. Tired eyes, heavy eyelids. Heavy eyelids. Make the eyelids heavy on both sides. Right, you can make dark like bags under the eyes to make them look a little bit more. And then if you bring back the eyebrows to cover a little bit of them, then you have access to drawing the full. The side view of the body. A horse? A lot of times horses aren't really difficult. A lot of people just find them really difficult because they don't spend time studying how animals work. Like the reason that most people don't know how to draw an animal is because they just don't take the time to study how they work. They're very similar to humans. Like most anatomy is very similar. It's a rib cage, hip bones, and the head. So if you have rib cage, hip bones, and the neck would be, for a human, would be about that. For an animal, would just be longer, different type of head. Collarbone is the same thing. It leads to where your arm goes. So the collarbone leads to where the arm is supposed to go. A lot of the times, just learning a little bit of the anatomy of the elements will help you. Go to the museum. Like, go to the Natural History Museum in your area. Like, you will literally be able to, like open up so much just by drawing the things there. Perspective. You want to know perspective in, like, 2 minutes? If you learn to draw a circle really nice, and you draw circles inside, this gives you a really cool effect. This gives you a surface. So if you have things like characters, now you can position them in that. Now, if you make that circle thinner, that's going to make your surface a little thinner, therefore giving you a different perspective. This is the ground. This is the sky. If you were to take that roundy part and go all the way around, you'd have your horizon line. But not just that, let's say I wanted another character within the scene, but I don't want him standing on the same mountain peak as him. He's on a mountain peak now. I want him on a slightly different part of this thing. I'm going to draw another circle, another surface, and then give myself another surface for that character. Oh, I want a different character standing in a different, it's going to be a floating rock. I'm going to draw him on the other side of the rock. And now I can draw things with layered perspective, not just a single point of perspective, but I have layered perspective. I can have characters in multiple different patterns, different perspectives and everything, just by drawing a circle with a different width. What's a challenging perspective? If you draw that full circle, it's completely overhead. The fuller or the more you thin out the circle, the thinner it gets, and then it's ambiguous. So if I draw it like this, right, this can be both the top side or, oh, wait, you can't even see what I'm doing. So if I draw a circle and I draw this, right, this doesn't have to be the surface like that. It can be, but it can also be the upper edge of that shape. So it doesn't have to be that this edge is the front. No, that could be the front. And I just change the perspective of this on itself. And then if I draw something, a bigger circle underneath, I can put both of those in that same perspective. So now they're both interacting with each other. Now I can do Pokemon battles and shit. Yu-Gi-Oh battles. So that is going to be consistently one of the easiest ways to draw perspective. Now let's draw a character, and I want to give him perspective. Draw a circle underneath. Depending on the width of that circle, I'm going to have different perspectives. Beyblades, yeah. See what I mean? You have the ability to create individual perspective for each one of your characters. In any way you want. N, what's up, dude? So, what did we go over today? What did we learn today with the rod? Today's lesson involved drawing the shading of the face, the important parts that you should consider shading. That's mostly the important parts that you should shade. If you shade that area alone, you're going to be able to draw really cute caricatures on this area. I'm not even talking about the sides. Check it out. Oh my God. Just check it out. I'm going to draw a quick character. Let's say that I was at a bar, right? If I was just at a bar, I look at a person, I look at their general shape, I look at their outline, I find their ear. The ear is always going to relate to where their nose is going to be, so I'm going to go to their nose. After that, that's going to lead to that little crevice where the eye is supposed to be. That's going to lead to my forehead, and then whatever hair they have, I draw that in. Connecting point to that neck is going to always be at an angle, so I just draw an angled line, maybe have a shirt, a hoodie, whatever the hell it is. Right? From here to here, if this is my chin, the chin connects to the ear, and the neck very rarely closes. Very rarely closes. So let's just say that this guy is not the most fit guy in the world. Give some eyebrows. Let's say that I drew that in public, and I was like, oh, cool. I want to shade this. If you shade the underneath of the eyes, the underneath of the nose, and the side of the nose, you're going to be able to draw something like that. Right? If you want more contrast, you give some contrast to the hair. Essentially, you just don't want two white parts or two color, like the same color touching together. So if you want to make his face and hands, anything that's not touching color can now have an outside color. If you want to add a little bit of shading to the ears, the inside of the ear, the side of the head, the eyebrow indicates the side of the head. And then from there, learning that there's curvatures right here. Your cheekbones. But that's not really even all that necessary. This is too much. Doing all that stuff would be a little bit too much for just a drawing that you're just doing in public. Okay? You wouldn't do that much. You'd do like 3 steps back from that, and then you'd give them the drawing, and then you'd make their day, and then they'd love you forever. And then they'd frame it and put it in their house. Because people do that. It's weird. Like, I've met people that I've drawn and accidentally, like, just gone to their house later on. Like, we met in life. And then later on in life, I met them, right? Like, and it was just like, I drew that. Oh, my God, yes, I've had this for 10 years. I'm like, holy shit. That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh, I've gotten so many. I have so many caricatures of me, man. Like, I worked as a caricature artist for about 15 years. So I've been drawn as a big pile of pimples one day. And that was the most hurtful, but the most awesome thing that I've ever felt. Because it made me realize, oh, I can make someone feel this sort of emotion with this. This is interesting. And not gonna lie, in the past, I have weaponized my art. I have. Oh yeah, I've gotten back at people for being mean to me, especially teachers. No, man, I used to love drawing teachers, like, doing ridiculous things and then putting it on all the, like, screens and the computer screens. And then they'd come to school, and then I'm a very vigilant person. I made sure that every computer except his own had the same wallpaper with his drawing of, like, him mocking him, getting mocked. Like, there was another person that I worked with that didn't believe in dinosaurs. And I like dinosaurs. And we got into a heated argument about dinosaurs. And when she went on break, me and my buddy, we ended up replacing all the pieces of artwork in the whole booth with drawings of her as a dinosaur. And when she came back from lunch about 30 minutes later to see the whole booth covered with faces, drawings of her face as dinosaurs, she got really mad. And then she went and, like, started crying, and I was like, I don't think we went too far. But it was funny. I got fired technically. They just gave me a different name tag. They fired me like 6 times from that place. I was not a very complacent person. I've never been good with authority. I've never been really good with authority. I don't like people telling me what to do. And when someone tells me what to do, I normally do the opposite. Like, even if it's detrimental to me, I'm just that petty sometimes. Like, oh, don't jump off a bridge. Oh, don't tell me what to do. You know, that would be me. Just out of strict pettiness, because I don't want you telling me what to do. It makes it really bad for being an employee. When you're an employee and you're like that, you're not seen as a great employee. But I was so good at sales. I was the top ranking salesperson for many years. I held the sales record for many years until finally somebody broke it, like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. It was nuts. And yeah, so even if they wanted to, they couldn't do shit. Because I was just making them a lot of money. But again, that's not a very conducive thing. It's not very good to live with that in you, you know, like, oh, I can if I want to, blah, blah, blah. No, that's a terrible way to, like, go through life. Don't do as I did. I learned, and it took me time to get used to not being that person, right? To not, like, stop being so arrogant. But I still have a huge ego. Like, I still love not having to listen to people. Thanks for being the teacher who keeps it real, man. You changed my life. Aw. I'm only here to help you guys and guide you guys until you don't need me no more. That's it. My goal is not for you guys to... I want you to unlock something and then not need me anymore. Right? And you'll one day like look back and be like, man, oh yeah, I learned this somewhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was that Rod guy. Yeah. And then you'll just go on your life. And you'll be successful and you'll be happy and you don't owe me shit. Because that's not what I do this for. I'm not doing this. I don't care what I get back out of it. That's a funny thing. I really don't. Because I'm doing this kind of for myself too. Because I learn every day that I come out here. So, my friends, you and I, unfortunately, have to part ways now. We have drawn for about an hour and a half today. We have gone through a bunch of really cool stuff. And so ended up getting like a little troll guy that goes to show you a very important lesson. Don't allow people like that in your life. That was like the best lesson that guy could have taught a lot of you guys here. Especially since a lot of you are new to this. You know, people like that will try to discourage you in a friendly way. They will mask it as friendliness or come, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. They do mean it like that. And they mean it much, much more intensely than you think. So get used to not having people that are like that in your life. Allow yourselves to enjoy the things that you're doing and allow yourselves to be proud of the things that you're growing into. Because this is something that takes time, right? Nobody becomes a great artist overnight. Nobody does. But it takes time and you have to love it. You have to learn to love what you're doing so you can actually get to the point where you need to. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your teacher today. My name is RODGON. If you guys want to learn some more, you guys can always go to my YouTube channel. If you guys feel like you guys want some more, you guys can always buy my books. I don't have instructional books, but I have art block books. They're essentially scans of my sketchbooks. And you guys can use them as reference tools that are going to be insanely good for you to be able to purchase. I'll have to put the links up for all that stuff again. I normally take them down because of all the school links. But we're not launching the school for a little bit, so we are going to be able to focus on selling and making more books and stuff like that too. So, I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Love you all. See you guys.